Everybody give a round of applause to Jake. Thank you, Jake, for doing behind the scenes stuff.
Thank you, Jake. Amazing as always.
All right, so here we go. This is what we're talking about today. We are talking about a few questions, right? Does emotional intelligence actually help you sell more homes? Does it make your clients happier? Maybe both, right? We're going to dive deep into emotional, like EQ. There's IQ, intelligence quotient, EQ, which is emotional quotient. We're going to dive deep into that, as well as ways that agents could kind of roll with the changes in our dynamic day-to-day real estate world. And we finally got Jim Godwin here. All right, I love it. You can rename yourself because we got Jesse Zagorsky twice. So if you just click on rename, it's actually Jim Godwin from Kansas City. I'm Jesse Zagorsky from San Diego. We've got Janki Patel, who is from, I'm going to say Bay Area, Silicon Valley.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, Silicon Valley and yeah.
Perfect. And we've got Priyanka Johri, who is from Houston. And each of the people on here today have very different backgrounds, but they all overlap in really similar ways. So there's two different reasons why we called this show. We're hoping this becomes like a regular show. If you guys like this, type it in the comments, ask us questions. Jake, if you can keep an eye on comments and like cut and paste them here. I don't have Facebook open, but if you want to cut and paste some stuff here. We want to dive into two different areas of emotional gymnastics. We want to dive into ways that you can improve your emotional intelligence, right? Because it will help you sell more houses. It will help you connect deeper with clients, but also in your personal life, right? In your personal life, there are things that happen day to day with real estate because it's stressful. Plus there's a pandemic in the world and some other things going on due to like politics I don't even pay attention to, right? But like there's stuff in the world that's stressful and there's things that you can do on a day-to-day basis to kind of deal with and adjust to those changing environments. And Jim and Priyanka and Janki all have very different takes on it, but I want to find out where we overlap, where we're different. I want you to hear a little about their background first. So let's start with Janki, and then Priyanka and Jim, you can think about how you want to tell your story in a minute or a couple minutes or less. Janki had the most dramatic change happen a couple months ago.
Yes.
So what happened a couple months ago?
So actually it was about, I think, a month and a half ago, maybe now, right? I was sitting there with my husband watching TV, and all of a sudden I don't know what happened. I really can't describe it, you guys. I don't know what it actually happened physically to me, but I felt like I was going into this daze and I collapsed all of a sudden. And in that moment, I told my husband I feel like throwing up. So I sat up and my husband ran and got a trash can and I'm throwing up. And that's all I can remember. After that, I have no idea what happened. No idea whatsoever. And from what my family is telling me, that I could hear them talking in the background, but I couldn't move. I was so numb. My body was numb. It was really an out of body experience, sort of. And I couldn't move anything. My daughter lifted my hand and it felt like as if something is really seriously wrong with me. And she goes, Mom, what's going on? Same experience that happened when my dad passed, just a few seconds before my dad passed. The same kind of body language was going on inside of me. And of course, everybody is panicking at that time. And immediately my husband, my daughter said, let's call 911. And I could hear them talking, but I was throwing up and they called my name. And I was just like, oh, I just could not talk, could not move my hands, nothing. They called 911, the guys came, of course, they're pressing on my heart, knocking it like it's hurting, but I couldn't tell them what they're doing is hurting me, right? But I still continued to throw up and they taped me up everywhere and poked everywhere in my body to get blood out of it, to get blood out, to kind of do some testing or whatever, put in the IV inside of me.
And you ended up in the ER, correct?
I did. At the end of they poked me 6 times everywhere to get blood out of my body. Guys, I'm trying to tell you something here. I was dehydrated, okay? I was dehydrated. They couldn't even find a vein to draw blood or to put insulin in my body. Okay?
And how did you end up in the ER and how did you end up so dehydrated?
Just the work that I do day to day. I'm doing 16 hours a day. If you can relate, please share your comment or your experience with us. Doing these long hours in real estate was just, and I still continue to do that, but I have a system in place now, right? When the doctor was calling me, I couldn't even respond to the doctor. I woke up 3 hours later in the ER all by myself, you guys. Obviously, because of COVID, no one is allowed to visit. When I was in the ambulance, they were trying to get my heart going, and it felt like my heart is still there. You're still, hitting it so hard. I can feel the pain, but I couldn't talk. No matter how much pain they gave me everywhere, I couldn't feel it. It was just surreal.
And so do you attribute this to stress then? I mean, is that straight up like this is just like?
So what did they diagnose me with? 3 hours later, I was out of, I was on the ER bed, and the first thing I looked for my husband, I couldn't see him. The nurse was standing there, and it was 10:45 in the evening, 10:45 at night, and I'm like, where am I? That's the first thing I said. I didn't even know where I was. So 3.5, 4 hours, I was unconscious, not knowing where I was. And, then I found out, hey, I'm in a hospital bed.
Right.
How did I get here? What happened to me?
Yeah, and this is, by the way, and we'll change gears a little bit. That's like, I guarantee there's people watching this that even if they haven't experienced that level of breakdown in their body, like Jim and Priyanka, you guys have felt this in real estate, right? You're just like, or in Priyanka, in a previous career we can talk about. This is real. Like the physiological stress you feel on a day-to-day basis is real, especially with everything else in the world. And so the whole goal of this webinar today and the future shows we do are about some tools of what to do with that. Like that's, when Janki told me the story, that's the idea of how the show came about. Was like, she told me the story and I was just like jaw on the floor, like, this is scary, dude.
It was.
Like, this is
imagine being there. And of course my husband was panicking because he's not allowed in the ambulance car, guys. He's not allowed to be anywhere near the hospital or the emergency area. And you're all alone by yourself. And when you wake up in the hospital bed, you're like, okay, where am I? What happened to me? And you know what I was diagnosed with, Jesse and Priyanka and Jim? What they told me? They told me that I was at a high level of stress, low blood pressure. And what did they give me? They gave me apple juice and orange juice mixed together. And of course, they gave me a potassium pill diluted in water. And I said, I want to go home. They said, if you want to go home, start walking. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk. I want to see my husband. I'm going to get up. And of course, when I got up, they said, no, you're about to fall down. Sit down. You see, when I made that movement of getting up quickly, that's what my life is all about, moving quickly, just going from here to there, not taking a break. And that's when I realized I need to stop. I need to take a minute.
All right, so let's do this. I realized instead of telling everybody's story, because I think we're going to just scare the heck out of people. But let's start with one story at a time. Priyanka and Jim, if you just want to jump in, because later on, maybe this webinar, maybe next time, we'll tell Priyanka's story, Jim's story. Maybe we won't get everyone's story this time, because this is such a powerful story. Like, as you're listening to this, Jim or Priyanka, like someone just typed in here, right? Suzanne just wrote, that is so scary. We really put so much in this business. We do. If you are a committed agent, you put everything into this business. Like, it is who you are. I mean, if you have kids and you see realtors at their kids' game on their phone, like, it's just nonstop, right? Jim and Priyanka, what are you guys feeling or thinking as you're hearing this story?
What immediately comes to my mind is that this is something that can happen to any one of us at any given moment, because, I would assert that most of us in this business are working 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week, and in the balance of taking care of yourself and taking care of your clients is way off. And we are, and I think a lot of times we don't even see it until it's too late, until you end up in the emergency room, not knowing where you are, and not knowing that you have a heart, something's going on with your heart.
Right, and that's what my true awakening was, actually.
Yeah, and Priyanka's gonna love this one. You ready? I was told years ago by a mentor, guru, whatever you want to call this person, coach, that the universe gives you signs and signals, right? There's lessons you're meant to learn, and they start out really small, and they start out really subtle. And if you don't listen, you get the same message again, a little louder. And if you don't listen, you get the same message again. Like, literally, the message to Janki, I mean, I'm hearing it loud and clear, which is like, you got to relax. You got to figure out some way to, like, take care of yourself. And the signs keep getting stronger and stronger. So they're literally smacking you in the face, and you end up in the ER, right? So you're getting signs right now. I mean, Priyanka, I know you agree with this, right?
So it's like universe has always been giving you signals, and it's very personality related. I did the same thing before real estate when I was in different career. That's just my personality. And I think a lot of successful people, like we are talking about real estate, but anywhere in life, in any career, they would do exactly the same thing that we are doing. Mm-hmm. I thrive on stress, and I was telling Jim, and I still do. when I was in geology, I was being a geologist. I loved working 18, 20 hours a day. And I was very proud of myself. Like, that, I can get things done and whatever, throw it on me or on my table, I will take care of it. And that got me as sick as Janki, right? But I got out of there because I was unhappy. I got into real estate because I wanted that freedom, that contentment, and I'm getting it. But I'm still doing the same things that I was doing at that time. And I see it coming. And it's just who I am. Yeah. And when something bad happens, I stop and then do what Janki is doing right now. And then things just get out of hand. And you just like, okay, I'm going to do this later. I can meditate some other day. Right now I need to take care of this and send out this email. And you just get back into that rat race again.
So Priyanka, that's happening to me right now. My eye, this is another signal, you guys, even though I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, guess what? I'm right back into that same track. My eye started showing up signs of, really swelling up, and, I get keloid when I'm stressed. That's another way of my body saying, slow down, stop all the computers and the screens, give me a break, All
right, well, so let's dive into that though, because I'm guilty of this too. And anybody watching this is not us preaching at you. This is us saying, we have the same challenges you do. We're just trying to figure this out. And can we help each other? Can we support each other through this LabCoatAgents community? Can we support ourselves to create tools and accountability, whatever it is, to actually affect some change around? Like it is 1:21 in San Diego, and I've got my lunch sitting on the other desk over there that I still haven't eaten. Okay. Like I'm just as bad as, so you said you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're meditating, but are you doing it consistently?
So when you talk about being consistent, am I doing it, so yes, I am. Okay. So morning, afternoon, evening. Now, yes, we all have busy schedules, but we have to take out 10 minutes of our time. And my son is standing right across me saying, Mom, you've not done that for a week now. And that's this right here. Look at this. It's beginning to show. My keloid is beginning to show. So yes, I haven't done it for about a week. It's stressing my body out again. So that's the thing. Meditation helps me calm down, just shut my world out for 10 minutes, you guys. We have 10 minutes to spare, right?
Mm-hmm. And for Jim.
For me.
Okay, Priyanka.
So for me, it's like, I would never do it for myself, right?
Yeah.
Before, when I went through that whole cycle, I started teaching yoga to cancer patients at a hospital, like a volunteer work, right? But then somebody was dependent on me, and I did it regularly because I had to show up. There were 10 people waiting for me. Now during COVID, I have an assisted living. So everything is shut down, and I'm talking to nurses and doctors, and I realized how stressful they are. And suddenly I started doing 10 minutes of guided meditation for them on a podcast. And I did it every day for 3 months, first 3 months that we were shut down. And then things started to get level out. Everybody's like, thank you for doing it. And there were not as many people were coming on to that. I just stopped. And I stopped teaching them, and I stopped doing it for myself. So I realized when I have to do something like that, I have to do it for somebody else, but I reap the benefit as much. And that's the only way, like it has to be on my calendar as this is a task I need to do. And somebody has to depend on me. Only way I will get it done.
Yeah. Well, you're on mute, Justin.
Right. And I said, I love it, Priyanka, because we will teach you guys today in the next little bit some tools on how to develop your own emotional intelligence and connect with clients. But if you can't handle yourself first, it's very hard to focus and be empathetic to other human beings. It's like when you fly in an airplane. I love the analogy that when in case of a depressurization, right, always put on your oxygen mask first and then help the loved ones around you. It's the same thing. You have to figure out a way to, like, if you're running in stress mode and you have those moments where you're just like, no matter what happens, you're just gonna respond in like because it's just stressed. When you're in that moment, it's very hard to think empathetically to any client. So Jim, let's do one more thing on this side of it, then we'll change gears to more of the tools you can use for emotional empathy. But for Jim, I don't know if you meditate, but I do know that you like to run, right? Mm-hmm. How does running tie in for you in terms of what you do and how you stay out of that stress and overwhelm?
Well, I consider when I run also my meditation, so I'm doing both at the same time. And it's a complete reset for me. When I take the time to consistently get up and run, my physiological, everything changes in my body, which resets my mind. So I'm getting up at a specific time. I'm exercising at a certain time, and the physical act of getting out there and running changes the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, I love it. So far, if you're watching this, and I want to spend a few minutes, I have this idea that I want to throw in the middle of every one of these everyone's shows called Calm in the Middle of Chaos.
Mm.
Right? Calm in the middle of chaos. So Jim just said he runs. That's double meditation plus running. Janki says she has her meditation. You shared something the other day when we did our 10-minute labs, Janki, that maybe if you want to, this is our little segment of calm in the middle of chaos. What do you do in the middle of the day? Walk us through with your ear pods. What do you do? How long does it take? Tell us what you do. What's your routine?
I have both of it right here. I go onto my Calm app. It's very, very simple, you guys. Go onto my Calm app, and I go ahead and just meditate for 10 minutes. And it takes me, I put this on, I put my headphones on, and I breathe. I just do my 10 minutes of, it's focused on yourself. I've learned very late in life that you come first. I've always put other people first. And when I do that meditation and I calm my mind down, I am ready and open and fresh in my mind, saying, okay, I can tackle this. I can go on this webinar. I'm not nervous about it. I'm comfortable being on camera now. A lot of us, especially after COVID happened, a lot of us had to change our business, right? A lot of us had to get back into a mindset of get onto videos, do this. It's always, everyone talks about videos, FaceTime, Facebook Lives, get onto webinars, show yourself. It becomes very overwhelming for people who are very shy. And I was one of them, where I am a high D. Trust me, guys, I go crazy with my D. I want things done like immediately. Like I wanted to get out of that hospital, get me out of here, But the nurse had to put me down, sit me down and say, no, honey, you're going nowhere until you can walk because you're shaky right now. See, I didn't take time out for me, but I learned very late in life that I need to do this. And that's my son and my daughter are very big on meditation too. And they said, Mom, just try it. Try the Calm app. And I started trying it. And lo and behold, now it's like, itchy for just calming myself down. This is a gift I'm giving myself during the daytime.
And where do you go when you do that? Like, do you go to like the special room where everything's quiet?
No, nothing. I mean, I do it from my car, 10 minutes. If my clients are running late, 10, 15 minutes, okay, great. It's an opportunity for me to shut down everything and breathe.
Right, and the app is CALM. It's called Calm. It's super expensive. It's like $1,000 a year, right, for the app?
No, it's a free app, you guys. I mean, I think it's a $60 a year sign up or something. After the free trial, whatever. Yeah. So
for anyone watching this, there's literally no barrier to this. You can do it for 10 minutes, anywhere in the world. You don't need to have fancy AirPods with noise canceling. That's just a bonus, right? For those people who have iPhones, right? Put in your fancy noise canceling headphones. For everyone else, just like whatever you got, anywhere in your world. Priyanka, Jim, you like that?
I love it.
Right. So I think the whole point is about disconnecting, right? So whatever you're doing, disconnecting from that completely, and then doing something else that takes your mind off. For me, that's my dogs. So I don't do the meditation part like you're doing, Janki. For me, anytime I'm stressed, it doesn't matter what I'm stressed about. If I walk out with my dogs in the backyard, right, and just sit down with them and playing with them, that just takes my mind off from everything. It just disconnects and whatever is going on, how serious it is, my dogs come first, right? And I think it happens with parents, like with your kids, your dogs, or whoever. And I think whatever makes you happy and gives you that happiness and that contentment, that can be your break. So if somebody says like, hey, I can't meditate, okay, fine, find something that takes your attention, like doesn't matter what's going on in the world, that thing, that person is most important to you, and do that. Just go and sit. Yeah, exactly. Take 10 minutes. Go sit with your dog. Go sit with your kids. Go have an ice cream. Go run.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find different ways to disconnect. I think whole point we are talking about is disconnecting for whatever is stressing us out.
Right. And I think it's very important to understand as well how important this is. Like I discovered this about me, so late in my life, but for me, I don't take it that way, that it's so late in my life. I take it to where it's a new beginning for me. And I am starting this journey for myself and with myself. I also do write in my gratitude journal. Every night I take 10 minutes out before I go to bed, and I write what I'm grateful for. The power of just writing in your journal what you're grateful for is an amazing mental relief for me.
And I love that. It's funny. So I started using the Calm app after I talked to Janki a few weeks ago. So I bought the Calm app. I use it at night. And it's got a little feature where it has a journal and it has like a check-in, like you just check in on your mood. And the funny thing is, I always skip it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't need, like, I'm so high. I'm so like high strung. I was like, I'm just going to meditate. I'm just going to meditate right now. I don't need to check in how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, my kids get me on that one. When I don't check in, they'll check my phone. You've not been on this Calm app for 1 week, Mom. What's going on? I'm like, oh, God. That's why you're getting that keloid, okay? So you want to know why. You know, it's all about us first. You know, we always put everyone else first. I always did. Put my husband first or my kids first. But it's about you from inside. Because we put our clients first all the time, too, right? We always want to reach out to that email and send them that email back again. But if you just take 10 minutes, your response will be very different from what you were going to send 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, even if you take 3 minutes. You know, that's why I love intentional breathing so much, because it can be done by anyone at any time, anywhere.
Right.
You know, so if you are going through an extremely stressful situation, or you've just been working for hours straight, you know, taking 3 to 5 minutes and you know, having 5 to 10 deep breaths has such an impact on the way that you're interpreting the world. It completely shifts your perspective, and no one has to know you're doing it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to have anything. And you have complete control yourself of how you are, you know, changing your mindset.
You're right.
I love that. And by the way, I'm curious, Janki and Priyanka, and anyone watching, type it in the comments. When Jim just said taking deep breaths, did anyone take a deep breath? I did.
Yeah, it's just like that suggestion, right?
Yeah.
So he said, take deep breath, and I started it.
Right.
It's amazing. Like, I guarantee people listening started taking deep breaths, and it's physiological. You take in that deeper breath of oxygen, it starts to relax your body physiologically. And by the way, I didn't announce who Jim Goodwin was. So Jim, and someone just in the panel, Christina just said she did. It's so funny. So I'm kind of giving you guys background as we go. So Jim Goodwin, who is a real estate broker in Kansas City, runs a big business there. He also is a combat veteran and has a lot of relationship to stress and stressful situations, or even in real estate where it's like your life isn't on the line, but people act like it is when you're buying or selling a house. Like he actually has been in situations where like the life is online. And so there's techniques you learn in those situations. Did you learn deep breathing from when you're in the service, or is this post? When did you learn take 5 deep breaths?
No, I wish I did learn in the service. I would have been able to deal with it much better. No, this came out of, years of being in a high stressful environment, and then coming out of that and getting right into real estate and getting into more stressful situations. And actually, some of the stuff that I went through in the military was easier to deal with because it's so straightforward. Like with real estate, it's so all over the place, and sometimes you just have no idea what direction to go. It feels like the stress is heavier because you're dealing with so many different personality types and so many different possible solutions to a problem. Like in the military, it's just like, go that way.
It's so structured.
It's very structured.
Right,
very structured.
Right, yeah. And in life is not all the time structured, right? Our real estate business is not always structured. In fact, right before I got on this webinar, I have this closing happening later on next week, said, no, Monday is an auspicious day. We want to close on Monday. And everyone is going crazy. And I'm like, okay, time to take 10 minutes out. Let's go. It just comes naturally now, because the minute that stress level happens, let them talk. Don't jump into it. And I don't want to jump into between my TC and the title company and all these emails going back and forth. I just want to see what's going on, but I need to stay calm, right?
Yeah,
and that's what we need to do. We need to walk away.
Yeah, I actually incorporate breath work into that. So when I know that I'm taking a couple of breaths intentionally, I'm not talking. I'm letting people talk and get out what they need to get out, and I'm just kind of listening and taking it in and taking a couple of deep breaths to prepare myself to respond without reacting.
Yes.
I love that. And this is actually a really good natural transition because we're at the point now where I want to give some people some techniques they can do. We've given some techniques they can do to start to bring their own stress level down, but how about to raise their own emotional intelligence? How do they help connect with people? So this is one, right? You just said, Janki, you said, don't jump in the middle. Jim says, take a deep breath before you start. Think about it for a minute. What do you guys do? What are some techniques you've done? Because all three of you are incredibly emotional, intelligent human beings. There's a reason you're on this webinar right now, right? And all three of these people run amazing real estate businesses. They're all agents or brokers, depending on their state. They run fantastic businesses, but they're not here because they sell a lot of houses. They're here because of the human beings they are. So how did you end up where you are? And do you consciously think about connecting? Does it happen naturally? Anyone want to start on this? I was curious.
I can start. So for me, you and I have talked about this so much, and that's why you said like, hey, I'm talking about universe, you would like it. Looking back at my life, like I have such a high D personality, and then I have high I. I'm like 99 D, 99 I. So these are like two extremes. So I stress myself out, right? So I care about everybody, but I get things done, and I want it done my way.
Me too.
Right? So it just like, so like throughout my life, I'm a fighter, like fight, fight, fight. But looking back, few years back, when I started looking back, I was like, I have always achieved what I have wanted in my life. And I would set a goal and just go after it. Like, that is my focus. But later on, I realized that a lot of times universe was tapping at my shoulders like, hey, that's not a good idea. I know you want it, but that's not a good idea. And universe was trying to show me a different way or different path. But I was focused going straight. And I was like, I achieved it, but once I got there and I looked back, I said like there were other opportunities that were knocking at my door that I did not pay attention to. And as I learned that, I think I was around 35 years old when I realized that. And now I have come to, in my life, to a stage where like something is happening that is stopping me from achieving where I want to go. I just sit back and just like, hey, let's see what other things are happening around me. Is there a different path I can take? And sometimes I just tell myself, like, don't stress about it. Something is happening because something is better is around the corner. Just pay attention, take a step back, and that has reduced my stress level so much because I'm not going into that fighting mode anymore. I will still fight if I have to, but I give myself time, what Jim was talking about. Like, if you give yourself that 10 minutes and suddenly you realize like what you're going to, like, I'm ready to bust the wall. But if I step back, it's like, hey, there's a door right next to it, just let's open that door and step out there versus trying to break the wall.
I love it. And notice, by the way, I'm asking, what do you guys do to connect with other people? And the answer still immediately comes back to us. Like there's no way you can connect with other people unless you master what's going on in here.
Right.
Impossible.
And I think another thing to also add to that, Priyanka, is a gut check. I do a gut check and I'm always talking internally, listening, you have this intuition and that's your gut talking to you, telling you something about yourself or about the situation. Listen to that. And that was exactly what, sometimes it could be right, sometimes it could be wrong, but you just, in the moment, you just have to listen to that. And I think that has helped me a lot too. And, when there's something telling you no, that's your gut telling you no. And sometimes when you don't listen to it and ignore it, well, guess what? You get slapped from the universe, right? Like I did. And I wasn't listening to stop or slow down. Again, it's coming back and I'm not listening and I need to listen. And so yesterday, actually, I started meditating right away and I said, okay, I need to take control of everything back again. So you always have to pay attention to these little signs that you're getting. Like Jesse and Priyanka said, we have to pay attention to these signs. And then what do you do with those signs? You just don't pay attention and not just like me sit there and say, okay, all right, I'll take 2 days off. I'll deal with it later. Later will never come, So I think that's important too. It's listening and being careful of what you say.
I love it. And did you guys, were you always emotionally intelligent people, or did you have to learn? Did you learn that?
I think I learned
evolved with life experiences.
Right.
At least in my case, I wasn't like that. I know I'm wired certain way. That has always been there. But recognizing and just becoming like your way of life, it happens with life experiences.
Right.
Same for you, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've always been an empathetic person, but until I learned some tools on how to manage that, it felt like a problem. It felt like stress to me. It felt like I was feeling everyone's emotions and pain and suffering and happiness and all of it. I was feeling all of it. I didn't know what to do with it, how to process it. And until I learned how to use these tools that we've learned, I'm able to see them for what they actually are and continue on and embrace them and move the conversation forward.
I love it. So let's answer the question. Do you guys think that realtors with higher emotional intelligence, do they make more money?
Absolutely.
Jim says yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, because you're so focused, you're so driven, and you won't give up till you get it done. And that's, my husband always in my real estate career always said, oh, you want a new kitchen? All right, let's put you on that accountability platform. Let's get it done. And I always beat that result, right? So I think that's part of it. We're driven.
I think the money just comes more easily. I had never focused on money. Money has never been my goal, and never look for making money. I want happiness and contentment. Like my whole life, the three things I have been looking for, and I found it: my freedom, my happiness, and my contentment. And it has nothing to do with money. I have been happy when I didn't have a lot of money. I have been happy when I have a lot of money, right? But I noticed that money comes, and it comes more easily because people are attracted to you, right? So your clients are happy because you have delivered results, and now they're sending you referrals, and suddenly you have this business booming without doing anything. And that's what I say. And my assistant corrects me. It's like, what do you mean by you have all this business coming without doing anything? All these people that you made happy, that's why you're getting all this business. I was like, yeah, but I'm still not doing anything, People are coming to you because you are happy and content, and you make them calm, and you make them feel secure. And
you're attracting them. You're attracting them. When you're calm, people want to be around you. You're attracting people to come towards you. And I think it's a law of attraction, right? When you talk about
I always say, instead of chasing business, I want to attract business. And it's happening, and I'm happy. That's why I'm happy and content. And that's why real estate can be stressful, the transaction part, but the other part is real easy.
Which is funny. I was just saying, Janki, it's funny though, because she has the picture of the dog behind her head, if you can see it. And I often think that Priyanka actually likes dogs more than she likes people. But
I say that. What do you mean? Like you think? I have been saying it. I love dogs. I tolerate people.
I didn't want to call you out. I didn't want to call you out.
I said.
All right, but it's funny because the people are attracted to her still. People are drawn to you, and it's because of that sense of calm. Like all three of you guys, I have the same sense when I talk to you. I just I feel better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the reason we're doing this. Jesse, that's the reason why you put all this together, this webinar together, is because you want everyone to kind of take 10 minutes out or take a few minutes out to listen to us, to see where we were and what we're doing to progress forward, right? Especially with our mindset and our well-being and taking care of us.
Well, that's it. That's why it's called emotional gymnastics. And I think this is going to be a show we do again. And I hope that you guys, if you guys are enjoying this, drop some comments, let us know so we can kind of tweak it. But if your emotions are a muscle, right? Just like you can go start running. If you're going to go run a marathon, you don't run 26 miles, you start running. Like you walk a little bit, and then you run a couple miles and you run more. Same thing with emotional development. Same thing with taking care of yourself. But if you're going to connect empathetically with other human beings, you develop it just like any other muscle. And they say that intelligence is fixed at birth, although there is some pretty cool books right now. Jim Quick, have you guys seen Jim Quick, the book Limitless, talking about the fact you actually can increase your IQ. But a lot of people say IQ is fixed at birth, but yet your EQ, you can raise it up. Like if people jumped on this, however often we do it, or just on a weekly basis, did things to develop their emotional sensibility, and you practice it, it's going to get stronger like anything else.
It becomes second nature. Like I don't think about these things anymore. I just react to them, right? But before, when I was transitioning and started recognizing it, at that time, I had to do it, like actually think about it and then take a step. Now it just happens because it has become a second nature.
Yeah. And you have to develop that muscle, right? Anything you do for 66 days in a row, that muscle will begin to develop, right? So it's just like working out. It's just like drinking water. It's just like, doing a 10-minute meditation.
Eating cheeseburgers. No.
No. But no, anything that you do it consistently, even in your business, we get results, right? You just have to stay focused and get it done. That's my theory.
100%. Jim?
I have a perfect example of how this has helped me with a client I have yesterday. I was going to cancel a transaction because we're on the 60th day of a 203K finance deal where she's doing a $70,000 rehab on a property, and we've gone through 60 days of high stress environment, right? And she found out yesterday that we're going to have to extend, and she called me up and wanted to cancel the transaction and said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't take it. And I'm always trying to get to the heart of what matters for people, right? And what really matters for her. So I asked her, why are you in this transaction? Why do you want to buy this house? And it was, she's rehabbing her dream house. She's taking a house that she could never typically afford in doing something through financing that is going to give her a ton of equity and get her into her dream house that she could never afford. So she lost sight of that. And through the conversation, I was able to separate out the circumstances of the transaction and get her to what really matters to her and her family. And so we know that our clients get stressed out, and it's a very, very difficult thing to get through these transactions. And knowing that they forget, or it gets really foggy, what matters to them, and all they're dealing with is, my lender doesn't like me, everyone's lying to me, my contractor, is horrible. And so if we take in all of their circumstances as fact, then we start talking to them as if those things are real. We separate that out and talk to them and separate out the story of what's happening from actually what's happened. And so I was able to take away the story around the transaction away and have her just for a minute see what really matters for her. And she was like, you know what, you're right. You're right. In 3 months, I'll never talk to the lender again. Everything will be fine. I'll have a rehab house and all this equity, and I'll be in my dream home, and none of this will matter. But she didn't see that and was ready to cancel the transaction.
So that's what we need, right? As realtors, that's what we should be doing, is we should be the facilitator in helping our clients understand why they're doing what they're doing, whether they're selling or buying. We need to be that one person that they can depend on emotionally. Because again, we're therapists, we're, us, whatever, we have enough titles within a transaction, right? And so how we facilitate that, I think that's so important and so awesome what you did to her and say to her.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with, me saving a transaction. It has everything, it has everything to do with, her being able to get into her dream home and have her and her family move into this place, and get through all of this in a good way.
Right, exactly.
People react to the same situation differently. Somebody who's just, very emotional, they are all into oh my God, I do not want this home. This is not supposed to happen, whatever. And then there are people who are very A personality, just I need to this done. I need to move on to the next thing. I already have contractors lined up and this is not happening. So let's go find another home. Kind of thing. It's yeah, but you have invested so much time and energy on this, right?
So I think a really good first step is to understand and recognize that most of the time we're not in a conversation with people. We're in a conversation with people's context and emotions and feelings, and we're not necessarily talking to what matters to them the most. And we need to recognize that and see, in the conversation, step back and see, what are they really saying? What are they really talking about?
Right.
And then talk to that instead of the circumstances.
I think that's what it brings to listen to them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't listen. We just go. But listen to what they're saying. You had to actually explain to her, why is she doing what she's doing, right? So with that why and with that dream of hers, you also listen to her concern, right? 9 out of 10 times we don't do that, and that needs to change.
Yeah, that brings up a really good point on another tool that I use called recreation, which is I make it a point to say back exactly what people say to me, so that I know that I'm listening intently and I'm repeating back exactly what they say, so that they know that I heard exactly what they say. And most people just want to be heard. They just want to know that someone is listening to them. And if
Absolutely.
I'm saying to them what they said to me, they know for sure that I've paid attention.
Exactly. Totally agree.
There's so much good stuff in this webinar. I'm like, this is so good, dude. I love it. All right, I'm gonna bring it all together here because we could obviously talk for hours, but we do want to bring it together, and then we will set it up to talk again next week, because I love some of these specific tools you're getting to at the end, Jim. I think every time we do this, we should talk about some specific techniques, formats, because Janki has a different terminology from what you do, Jim, but it's still the same concept, right? You're slowing down, you're disconnecting, you're listening, you're being present to it, you're talking to their emotions as opposed to talking to the person. It's really good stuff. All right, so let's think about this as a way to pull it together. If you're watching this, I'm assuming most people that are watching this already have some sort of emotional awareness, or else they wouldn't be watching this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's possible that they're just totally jerks and they were told that they need to learn to be better people, and they're like, I'm going to watch this webinar, I'll be a better person. But it's highly unlikely that that's who's watching this. Most likely they're already on this journey. We're either preaching to the choir or they're on their way there. So not like day one, but when you're like halfway through, what do you do for each of you guys? Just want to put it together. What do you do to remind yourself to stay present to these things? Because we do get busy, we get distracted, then we come back to it again. How do you, each of you, I'm curious, like on an actionable level, what do you do to stay present to these things on a daily basis? Anyone want to start on this one?
I will go. I have my family. Simple and the truth. I have my son, my daughter, that keeps me accountable. I got my alarms that are here that set, no matter where I am, what I'm doing, I have it on my schedule, right? Meditate, 10 minutes out. And even though I want to keep on pressing the snooze button, it'll keep coming. And it'll remind me, I got to sit down and meditate.
And there's no snooze button on your son or daughter.
No, there really isn't.
But that is as part of your support. And a lot of people, because I'm glad you said that, because I'd heard you say that a few times throughout this last hour, was you'd reference them as part of your support system. It's amazing.
We're a very tight-knit family, Yeah, for sure.
I love it. I mean, I'm married. I said this before we started recording, but I'm married to a therapist. Yeah. Right. So in a transaction, we might play a therapist. I actually am literally married to a real, like a psychotherapist. As it's so funny. I get such a different reaction every time I say that. Some people are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Right. Like, that must be so hard. And then other people are like, "That's amazing." Right. I obviously think it's amazing. I wouldn't have married her, and she's an amazing woman, but you get this perspective on it that when you have people around you, that can be a mirror back for your own internal workings. You can't see it from the inside because you're in it, but from the outside, you get it reflected back to you. Right. What do you guys do, Jim and Priyanka? What do you guys do to stay present to this stuff on a daily basis?
So very similar to Janki, I don't have family here, but I have built a really large tribe. So my dog rescue friends, my assisted living friends, my regular friends, like everybody even my clients, they take care of me. Like my assistant finds it's really funny that I have clients who just show up at the office like, "Oh, saw Priyanka's car, here's some coffee. We brought her muffin, she never eats." I mean, people just keep dropping food at my office all the time. And these are clients, new clients, existing clients, past clients that we have done deals with like 5-6 years ago. I have an assistant that I fired 2 years ago. She still comes and she brings me coffee. And my current assistant is very jealous of her. He's like, she wants her job back. That's why she keeps coming. I think, no, it's the relationship, right? So everybody sees me like Priyanka takes care of everybody else. So we're going to take care of her. So during COVID, I went into lockdown with my residents at the assisted living, right? So my real estate clients are there. And I feel like no real estate because I have to take care of these people. And you won't believe this whole time, I have people showing up at my door at the assisted living with food, with alcohol, with pies, cakes, whatever is needed, right? And those are the people who take care of me. And I'm very lucky. So I wish I can say I reset myself. It's usually people who are around me that say, my assistant, right? Half the time she's the one who says like, no, you have to take a break. No, you have to sit down and eat because you haven't done it.
But there you go. That's very similar to Janki has her children. You have your assistant. It's always having a mirror from the outside. Do you have something like this, Jim, or do you do something different to stay present to this stuff?
I have two. Well, I have that, and I have one other thing. I have a 2-year-old, and so and even though I don't recommend going out and getting a 2-year-old to raise your emotional intelligence, it's definitely helpful.
I'll get a dog.
Oh,
Get a dog, yeah.
You guys heard it. You guys heard it. Just borrow a 2-year-old, raise your emotional intelligence. I love it.
wow.
Anytime that I'm stuck in the muck, I just look at how he reacts to the world, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so silly.
Yeah.
Everything. This is so silly. None of it matters. Like, seeing how he bounces back from one thing to the next, like immediately, and he's like, oh, I'm done with that. Like, he'll go from a complete meltdown to like giving me a hug and kissing my face in 3 seconds, and I'm like, oh, that's how we're born. That's how we're meant to be, like to move and flow. And so like what he's really taught me is to laugh at myself. Like when I catch myself in the funk, and I can see it for where it is, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that thing thinking again.
Right. And I totally agree with you, because I have nieces and I have a niece and 2 nephews that are very similar to that, and they're about 3 and 5 and 9. And every time I'm so highly stressed out on anything, I go there and shut down. Mm-hmm. I play with them, I color with them, I do these things that I would normally not do, and it just puts me in a different zone. So every time I'm stressed and I don't meditate, even though I'm meditating and I'm still not over it, I'll go there, shut down, and just for an hour or 2 hours, just be with them. And I see what you mean, because it does work,
It's
it really does. Yeah.
It's like, same thing I learned from my dogs. Like, I rescue special need dogs.
Yeah.
And before, I used to feel sorry for them. And then I learned, like, doesn't matter, they have, we have to amputate a leg, they have gone blind or whatever. They live their life to the fullest. They never feel sorry for themselves. And my pack never treats them any differently, right? So they're not like, oh, you have 3 legs, so we are going to treat you differently. And watching them, I have learned, I don't need to sit down and feel sorry for myself. If something is happening, get over it and just keep moving on.
Yeah. That's one thing my dad always taught me, is when he felt so, and we can talk about that later, but when you fall, get up, and when you get up strong.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, let's do this, because we're going to wrap it up. Jim, did you have one more quick thought? Or you want to save it for next time? Just
that I've really learned to laugh at myself, and I've learned that I get stuck in the muck, right? And then I can step back for a second and say, that's that thinking mind doing its thing again, and separate that out from like where I really am.
Yeah, and between now and next time we do this, Janki, what you just said, what you learned from your dad, write down, as things pop into your head, write down little nuggets and lessons we've learned. That's where we'll start next time. We can kind of dive into some of the lessons and how I bet they overlap. I bet they're all complement each other. It's be really cool. This is super fun, guys.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
And yes.
All right, so if you guys have questions you want to connect, obviously drop it in the comments, drop it here. Hopefully we had pretty much everyone sticking around the entire time. So apparently they got something out of it, right? Enjoy your day, guys. Enjoy your afternoon. And we'll find out next time we're going to schedule one of these. We'll promote it. We'll make sure you guys know about it in advance. So this is episode 1, Emotional Gymnastics for Real Estate Agents.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey, guys. Enjoy your day. Bye.